Welcome to Revive Nature, a channel where discarded things are given a second chance to bloom. In this video, we'll explore creative DIY trash garden ideas that turn plastic, cans, tires, and broken odds and ends into colorful, meaningful designs for your front yard and backyard. Use the timestamps to jump to what inspires you most. Got questions? Drop them in the comments. And if any idea here sparks your imagination, run with it. Use what you have, where you are. Because this isn't just about decoration. It's about transformation. And before we dive in, just know this. You might see just another video. But for me, this is personal. Each view, each comment, each subscriber, it keeps this dream alive. You're not just helping a channel. You're giving power to a quiet voice with a big heart. Thank you for watching. Thank you for seeing me. They don't blink. They don't speak. But they see everything. In the quiet corners of this whimsical garden, curious little owls made from discarded plastic bottles now stand guard, watching the seasons pass with wide, playful eyes. What was once trash, faded and forgotten, is now reborn with vivid personality. Painted in bold sunset colors, orange, teal, lime, and sunshine, they each tell a different story. Some were feathered wings made from cut bottle flaps. Others were crowns of paper petals or googly eyes full of mischief. Nestled between blooming chrysanthemums and low fences of bamboo, they bring not only charm, but protection. Not from real predators, of course, but from something worse, dullness. These upcycled creatures whisper to every visitor, magic lives here. Whether you live in a quiet village cottage or a small city patio, these bottle owls add a splash of joy to your garden. Their presence invites laughter. Their stance inspires creativity. And their origin, humble plastic bottles, reminds us that beauty can come from the most unexpected places. Place them beneath your pergola. Let them peek from your garden edging. Watch how they play with light at dusk, their painted feathers glowing against a backdrop of anemone and sedum. The owls are home now, and your garden will never be the same. once forgotten, scattered across countertops, picnic tables, and trash bins. Tiny, twisted bottle caps in every color imaginable. But here, in this little garden haven, they've found a second life. Now, they don't just close bottles, they open eyes. Lining the soft edges of flower beds, these vibrant caps form a rainbow trim that hugs the earth with joy. Each one is set carefully, half buried like colorful coins unearthed from the soil. Their colors, sunset red, minty green, sea blue, mirror the blossoms they protect. Rows of golden marigolds, lavender anemones, and dancing asters. Children giggle as they trace the edges with their fingers. Neighbors pause, surprised by such simple beauty. And gardeners smile, knowing that even the smallest things, when given purpose, can bring wonder. The caps catch the light like stained glass on a summer morning. Their curves follow the twists of garden paths, making even the smallest backyard feel like a fairy tale. No two borders are alike. No cap is wasted. Every edge tells a story, of color, of reuse, of care. So gather your reds, your blues, your odd-lidded yellows. Let them sing in the soil. In a world that throws away too much, this garden sings of a new kind of abundance, one bottle cap at a time. In the language of flowers, every petal tells a story. But here, in this pocket garden by the fence, the flowers whisper tales of transformation. They were never planted. They never bloomed from seed. Yet here they are, vivid, striking, impossible to ignore. Plastic spoons, once tossed aside, now stand proud as petals. Each one has been painted with care, coral, sky blue, lemon yellow, then joined together in the shape of a blossom. Their centers might be bottle caps, old buttons, or wooden beads, but together, they mimic the rhythm of nature with a handmade twist. These aren't just decorations. They're shields of joy. They line fences like floral guardians, watching over chrysanthemums and marigolds, whispering to the wind that even waste can bloom. In small spaces, tiny patios, narrow yards, cozy fences, these spoon flowers become the stars. They brighten the view from a kitchen window. They add color when the real blooms sleep through winter. And they never wilt, never fade, never ask for water. Children often stop to count the petals. Gardeners feel pride with every spoon they reclaim. And visitors? They're caught off guard by wonder. Here, in this little fence-side gallery, beauty has a second chance. And in each recycled petal lies a reminder, even the humblest things can become art. Not all creatures in the garden crawl or fly. Some perch quietly on stone walls. Others smile under fences. And a few sit patiently beside your favorite patio chair, silent, colorful, and blooming with life. These critters are made not of flesh or fur, but of cans, tin cans, reborn and bursting with charm. Once home to soup or tomatoes, they now take on new lives as owls with curious eyes, bees with fuzzy stripes, foxes with clever grins. Painted lovingly in vibrant tones, fiery oranges, deep reds, sky blues, each can transforms into a character, a personality, a friend. Inside, life continues. Sedum trails from the bee's back like wings. Marigolds bloom from the owl's head like a wise crown. Each planter becomes a guardian of the garden, a storyteller among the soil. Placed near bamboo fences or scattered along the path, these painted critters turn a humble garden into a stage. Children giggle at their googly eyes. Neighbors pause to smile. And the gardener, perhaps you, knows that beauty was never bought. It was made. These aren't just pots. They're a reminder that joy can come from anything, especially things forgotten. In this garden of second chances, the cans are no longer trash. They're treasured creatures in a world where imagination grows as wildly as the flowers. They curl and rest like sleeping creatures in the garden's edge, silent and still, yet full of life. Once discarded on roadsides, these old tires now were new shells, painted with color and blooming with purpose. They are snails, not the slimy kind, but the joyful kind. The kind that hold flowers instead of silence. The kind that makes small spaces feel enchanted. Each tire is coiled into a perfect spiral, painted with pastel or rustic hues to match the garden's tone, lavender for calm, terracotta for warmth, mint for cheer. On top, eyes made from bottle caps or bent spoons pop out playfully, watching the world go by. Inside their shells, chrysanthemums and trailing sedum take root, softening the bold rubber with delicate blooms. They sit beside patios. They line the fence in front yards. They gather beneath pergolas, turning plain borders into magical trails. Visitors pause. Children reach out. Cameras click. And the gardener smiles, because trash became treasure. These snails don't move, but they change everything. They carry no weight, but they carry beauty. In their curves, we find creativity. In their flowers, we find rebirth. This is the magic of garden snails, handmade, upcycled, unforgettable. And once you see them, your borders will never feel empty again. Some fences are rigid, straight, cold, unyielding. But not this one. This one dances. Made from cast-off PVC pipes, once destined for landfill, it now curves like a river's edge, soft, elegant, unexpected. Bending gently between soil and sunlight, these pipes form a wavy rhythm that breathes life into the garden. Each wave is more than design, its movement captured in stillness. Painted in gentle gradients or bold stripes, they mimic the motion of nature, the sway of grass, the curve of petals, the roll of the breeze. At their peaks, flowers emerge. Chrysanthemums in soft gold, sedum in autumn blush, Japanese anemones that reach to the sky. From the pipe's hollow ends, life spills outward. Children run their fingers along the curves. Guests ask, "Where did you buy that?" And the gardener grins, because nothing was bought, only saved. Only shaped. Between bamboo poles or along patio corners, the wavy pipe bloom fence becomes more than a border, it's a frame. It outlines beauty. It amplifies joy. It reminds us that structure doesn't have to mean stiffness. Let your garden flow. Let your borders curve. Let color bloom where concrete once ruled. Because in a world of sharp edges, this fence dares to bloom in waves, and the result is unforgettable. Once, they graced dinner tables. Once, they carried soup, bread, laughter. Now, they line the garden, silent, delicate, and eternally in bloom. These vintage plates, long retired from kitchens, have become something new, a blossoming border of porcelain and memory. Set into the earth with care, they stand tall like petals frozen in time. Their patterns, roses, violets, sunflowers, mimic the very plants they now protect. But they're not just beautiful. They're history. Some are chipped. Some are faded. But that only adds to their charm. Each plate tells a story, of a grandmother's cupboard, of a meal shared long ago, of hands that once held them dear. Now, those same plates rise from the soil beside fresh blooms, reclaiming their purpose in a place of life. The garden doesn't judge their cracks. In fact, it celebrates them. Against the deep green of anemones and the gold of marigolds, these plates shine softly, like quiet smiles beneath blossoms. Along winding paths or framing a patio's edge, they create an art gallery in the open air. They invite you to pause, to look closer, to wonder. What once held meals now holds meaning. What once was fragile now stands firm. And what once was forgotten now brings the garden to life. Because beauty, like flowers, and plates, can bloom again when given a second chance. It arches like a forgotten dream, soft, glowing, delicate. From a distance, it looks like crystal. Up close, it's simply plastic. But oh, how it transforms. This dome pergola, crafted from old water bottles, is a spell cast upon a backyard. Bottles once thrown away are now light catchers, dreamweavers, pieces of sky trapped in form. Each one, hand-painted in translucent tones, blues that mimic the ocean, ambers like the last light of dusk, becomes a filter for the sun. Together, they form a canopy that dances with color. Step underneath, and the world changes. The light grows softer. The shadows bloom with hues. Even the air feels quieter. Around the dome, chrysanthemums nod their heavy heads. Sedum curls toward the shade. Anemones peek from beneath, as if guarding this sacred corner. It's a retreat not built from wealth, but from will. A structure of scrap and imagination. Children sit beneath it and make stories. Elders sip tea and remember simpler times. And you, perhaps, just sit and breathe. It's not just a pergola. It's a pause. A breath of stillness in a loud world. A reminder that with care, trash can become treasure, and shade can become sanctuary. Let your bottles rise. Let them bend with light. Let them curve over your quiet space and turn the sun into a garden of colors. Because in the hands of love, even plastic glows. Step by step, something sparkles. Not from jewels, not from gold, but from humble circles of metal, lids once discarded, now dancing with light. Along the quiet garden path, these cantops lay like ancient mosaic tiles, tiny suns captured in color. Painted in rich hues, indigo, copper, lemon, emerald, they align with purpose. Some shine naturally, their metallic gleam catching the sun like dew. Others wear coats of color, bold and unapologetic. The border isn't just decorative. It's rhythmic. Each lid marks a heartbeat. Each row, a melody for the eyes. As you walk past marigolds leaning slightly toward the path, and asters brushing the air with violet hands, the lids hold the line, separating wild beauty from quiet order. They give form without force. They give edge without harshness. What was once trash becomes harmony. What was overlooked becomes focus. The gardener, hands speckled with paint, didn't just recycle. They composed. They played with pattern, with polish, with patience. The result? A walking meditation, a reminder that footsteps deserve art too. Beneath a pergola or beside a fence, this mosaic edge carries stories of soda shared, cans crushed, lids popped. And now, it frames the blossoms of today. Let the lids guide you. Let them shine. And let your path be not just a way through the garden, but part of its beauty. In this garden, the birds don't fly. They bloom. Lined along the edge of the fence, they stand like guardians, each one handcrafted from plastic bottles, reborn in feathered colors and leafy crowns. Some are tall and proud. Others round and gentle. Their beaks are the bottlenecks. Their wings, shaped with cuts and paint. Their feathers? Made from flowers. Each bird holds life inside. Sedum spills like plumage. Chrysanthemums bloom from their backs. Painted in joyous tones, sunny yellows, seafoam greens, strawberry reds, they stand proudly as part of a garden parade that never ends. Visitors stop to admire them, wondering who made such cheerful creatures from such simple things. Children give them names: Sunny, Bluebell, Captain Pink. And in quiet moments, the gardener smiles, knowing that what once held water now overflows with creativity. There's something deeply poetic about a bottle turning into a bird. A thing once lifeless now holds something growing. A thing once silent now sings, in color. Whether perched along a patio or flanking a winding path, these planters bring playfulness and purpose to every corner. They turn trash into treasure, stillness into charm. In this garden, imagination takes root. And the birds? They stay, not to fly away, but to help your garden rise. Some trees don't need roots. Some bloom with color instead of leaves. In this garden, bottle rings, once forgotten fragments of plastic, become vibrant, gravity-defying trees. They stand tall along pathways, patios, and open lawns, not with bark and branches, but with loops of light and color. Each ring was once a bottle's mouth, tight, overlooked, functional. Now, painted in bold hues, they are layered like petals, stacked like dreams. The trunks are simple: wooden stakes, bamboo poles, even thick twigs. But what they hold up is joy. The rings shimmer when the sun hits them just right. They spin gently when the wind comes calling. Their shadows stretch like playful stories across the grass. Children dance around them, trying to count the colors. Neighbors stop and ask, "Is that really trash?" And the garden answers, "With beauty." Around these bottle trees grow asters, anemones, and gold-blushed sedum. But it's the trees that catch your eye. They rise like sculptures from a world of whimsy, proof that not all roots must dig deep to touch the heart. This is not just recycling. It's reinvention. It's turning something rigid into something joyful. It's making the garden sing in circles. So plant your rings. Let them rise. Let them spin. Because in the world of gardens, trees made of color can grow just as tall, and maybe even brighter, than the real thing. In the far corners of the garden, where fences meet and shadows settle, something strange and delightful grows. It's green. It's bold. And no, it doesn't need watering. These aren't desert cacti. They're garden ones. Made not from soil, but from steel-belted rubber. Crafted from tires that once rolled down endless roads, now rooted in creativity. Stacked high or cut low, painted in shades of cactus green, each tire becomes a new kind of succulent, complete with whimsical blooms made from plastic spoons and bottle caps. The effect is both surreal and enchanting. Their shapes mimic nature, yet their materials speak of reinvention. At their feet, golden marigolds shine. Sedum creeps along their base like moss in a forgotten canyon. Japanese anemones sway beside them, softening the strength of rubber and steel. Visitors pause, unsure at first. Are those real? They ask. And the garden answers, real enough to smile at. These tire cacti don't just fill space. They anchor it. They bring humor, charm, and unexpected structure to awkward fence corners or forgotten patio edges. Because a garden isn't just a place for plants. It's a place for play, for contrast, for joy. And nothing says joy like a cactus that blooms from a tire, rooted not in soil, but in second chances. Every garden has a boundary, but this one has a beginning. Not a gate of iron, not a wall of stone, just a gentle arch, painted, curved, and calling you in. It began as simple PVC pipe, cold, rigid, forgotten in a storage corner. But with a bend, a brush of paint, and a little faith, it became something else entirely, a fairy arch gate. A portal to a place where vegetables sleep beside flowers, and herbs grow in pots shaped like birds. The arch curves softly overhead, inviting the eye upward. Vines climb. Lights twinkle. Plastic butterflies flutter in the breeze. And beneath its arc, marigolds spill like laughter onto the path. Chrysanthemums nod at your feet. Asters wait just beyond, ready to surprise. Children step beneath and become explorers. Adults duck slightly, and suddenly remember wonder. It doesn't need to be grand. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be there, to whisper, you're entering something special. This is more than an entrance. It's an idea. That joy can rise from plastic and paint. That even the stiffest materials can find flow. That beauty begins when we decide to bend. So make your arch. Color it with hope. Let it frame your favorite corner, your quiet space, your slice of garden magic. And let every passerby know, this is not just a backyard. This is a world worth stepping into. They once cooked meals, sizzled oil, carried the warmth of kitchens past. Now, they bloom. Along this garden fence, the pans are no longer cookware, they're canvases. Each one painted by hand, transformed into a sunflower. Golden petals burst from weathered metal edges. Brown centers swirl with texture and story. No two are the same. No flower blooms twice alike. They hang like a line of joy, bright, bold, and impossible to ignore. Visitors smile as they pass. Children point. Some ask, "Where did you buy those?" And the gardener answers, "From my own hands." Below the floral fence mural, real blooms rise. Marigolds echo the metal's colors. Anemones lean gently toward the art. Together, they blur the line between reality and imagination. These sunflowers need no water. They never wilt. Yet they radiate warmth just the same. In small spaces, tight patios, narrow yards, tiny garden walls, they give life where nothing could grow. They catch the sun. They defy rust. And they remind us that beauty isn't found. It's made. From pans to petals. From kitchen to garden. From forgotten to unforgettable. So paint your own sun. Let it rise along your fence. Let it remind you each day that joy can come from the simplest things. Even an old frying pan waiting for its second spring. They've held coffee, cocoa, maybe even quiet midnight tea. But now, these cups hold something new. Life. Lined up along the garden edge, each mug and teacup, once forgotten in dusty cupboards, stands with pride. No two are the same. One bears a bunny. Another, a swirl of roses. A third still carries the faded mark of a favorite diner. But here, under the open sky, they've found their final calling, to bloom. Each cup is filled with soil and sprouting joy. Aster blossoms overflow. Sedum spills softly from the rim. Marigolds glow against their painted porcelain shells. And from afar, they look like a parade of garden guests, small, cheerful, perfectly content. They march along the fence, across patio corners, down garden paths. Not stiff, not formal, but playful, full of heart. It's a border that doesn't demand attention. It invites it, gently. It says, "This garden has stories, and smiles." Some may chip with time. Some may crack. But the flowers inside keep blooming. In a world where everything must match, the cutest cup parade reminds us that imperfection is beauty. That even the smallest vessels can carry the brightest blooms. And that the garden, above all, is a place for joy. So bring out your old cups. Give them soil. Give them sun. And let them march in the parade. One sip of bloom at a time.